Trojan Family, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, we got a couple things this Monday morning that we got to talk about, and one of them is this: is Dennis Simmons to me, and I want to know from you guys: is Dennis Simmons the most underrated coach on the USC football staff? You know, you hear a lot about coaches. Of course, everybody's raving right now about the defensive coaches. Eric Henderson, of course, rightfully so, that he's coming from the Rams, big time guy, coach big time players, and everybody's raving about Deanton Lynn as well, turning UCLA's defense from the number 98th defense in the country all the way to the number 10 in total defense last year. So he did a phenomenal job. And then, of course, guys like Doug Belt, who came from Houston, but then by way of Alabama, coach guys like Mika Fitzpatrick, all those guys. These guys are getting the praise. And then, of course, Sean Newell, he came from Michigan. He's did his thing. His name rings bells. His name is out there as well. And so you got all of these coaches right now that are doing phenomenal things, man. And it's straight up go time with each and every one of these coaches. And rightfully so. Even you even hear names like Taylor Mays, that coaches, that's an analyst who could possibly, you guys know the analysts now can coach on the sideline. So you see him out there as well with recruiting. You see him out there as far as possibly doing some technique stuff. So, but one of the names that you never really hear a whole lot, who kind of, in my opinion, goes under the radar, I guess, because you don't really even see him that much. But it's got to be Dennis Simmons, hands down. And I want you guys, that's a question I'm going to pose to you guys. Who has the best resume right now as far as coaches on the USC football staff? I think it will have to go to Dennis Simmons. Now, I'm going to tell you guys why. When you talk about the body of work right now, when you talk about actually getting these guys recruited and signed, and you guys know, they told us in math class that we always had to show our work, right? You always had to show your work. We had to work out a mathematical problem, and we had to bring it to the teacher. She wanted to see the work that was done. Dennis Simmons, as well as Eric Henderson and others, Dennis Simmons has showed his work as well. And I think, he showed it on the college level. Eric Henderson, he showed his work in the professional level. Deanton Lynn showed it in the college level. But then Dennis Simmons, as a whole, when you talk about his whole body of work, when I look at the guys that he's brought in, the guys that he's recruiting right now, I think Dennis Simmons has really showed his work. I think his body of work as a whole, it speaks for itself. You guys can drop those comments, and I want to take a look back and really look at when he first got here. Who were some of the guys that he was able to get? He brought a guy like Mario Williams over. Well, Mario Williams came over. And then, of course, you guys know like a Brandon Rice. And so you look at those guys, and you look at how those guys were able to be effective. And, of course, Jordan Addison, you can't forget about that. The Biletnikoff Award winner brought that guy over. And so you flip over to that, and then you flip over to the 2023 class. Who did he have there? You look at guys like Deuce Robinson, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, Zachariah Branch. Those guys are absolutely phenomenal. And those are with the 2023 class. Those guys are going to be the actual future. And then even guys like Kyron Ware-Hudson. Hudson came with the 2022 class. I believe he came with Relique, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe the year before. Yeah, I think so. So, when you look at that class now, the current sophomores that's getting ready to be sophomores, Deuce Robinson, Jacoby Lane, USC arguably could have one of the best wide receiver corps in the nation. And I want to talk about what I think these wide receivers are getting ready to do to LSU, because we got to talk about that as well. There's some news as it relates to LSU DB being out possibly for the season. Well, I know possibly for the season opener. I got to address that real quick too, because that is some big time news. But look at the body of work. What do you guys see Dennis Simmons? And so when you look at the guys that are there now, you got guys like Josiah Zamora, Jay Fair that came from Auburn, who's a dynamic receiver. He wasn't a leading receiver, but he was a dynamic receiver. I think put up 400 some yards. So you got to factor that in. And then you got Charles Ross, who came from San Jose State, who was pretty effective against USC, but is pretty effective on the season as a whole. He's a pretty productive season. He was able to get Kyle Ford back. So I think that speaks to Lincoln Riley's offense, speaks to the receiver coach. If you're not a good receiver coach, if you don't have good chemistry, good camaraderie with the receiver coach, you're not going to just come back. Kyle Ford was able to come back. Of course, he has chemistry with a guy like Miller Moss. But you look at this whole body of work as a whole. I have to give this guy right here, Dennis Simmons, his work. I should have had that picture up. I thought I had it up, but I'm lost to the sauce. But as a whole, man, I think Dennis Simmons is a incredible coach, and I think he carried over from what he did at Oklahoma. He has some great receivers at Oklahoma, some big time receivers at Oklahoma, and they've never lacked explosiveness as it relates to wide receivers. You think of guys like CeeDee Lamb, who's in the league right now, very, very powerful wide receiver. I think a couple years back, Shepard, I think Lincoln Riley had him. I think Dennis Simmons was involved with that. So this guy has had his hands on some incredible talent when you're talking about the wide receiver group. And then when you look at even Jaden Richardson, who just came over from Tufts College, he's a big-time receiver. And I think this receiver core, this receiver group, you guys are hearing it from me first. They are going to cause havoc on teams this year, big-time havoc. So we got to give our props to Dennis Simmons. And then we flip over to the 2025 class. What do we have there? We got guys like Romero Eisen, who's an absolute burner. And for you guys who haven't seen him, that guy can move and groove all over the field. Very fast guy, and it's straight up go time. And of course, we got Corey Sims out of the state of Missouri, 6'3" body, big body, and it's straight up go time with him as well. So USC is absolutely moving and grooving on the receiver front. And then, of course, we got this other guy, Tanuk Hines, whom I actually absolutely love. You guys know I just did a video from him when he made his commitment last week. The guy runs track. You're talking about a 20.71 in the 100 meters, a 10.45, a 20.71 in the 200 meters, a 10.45 in the 100 meters. So look, it is straight up go time with that guy, man. He's absolutely a burner. He's an athlete. And you guys know I showed you how he's going up there catching those balls with his hands. He's not catching with his bodies. And I told you it's a time and a place to always catch with your body, but it's a time and a place to catch with your hands. He is a phenomenal receiver. So look, man, I want to salute Coach Dennis Simmons for doing his job. It's kind of going under the radar. I guess we kind of, in a sense, we kind of take it for granted. And Dennis Simmons has really shown that he has a body of work. So, man, hit me in the comment section on that. You guys can tell me what you think. I got to get to this other news because this is kind of some shocking news that just came out yesterday. And I'm going to pull this up. It may be a little small here, but this is LSU receiver, LSU DB rather. He is apparently busted, man, for let me pull this up real quick, for recording somebody in a sexual act. Here it is right here. This is according to College Football Daily, and it says this. It says LSU starting DB Givinia Tavino has been suspended from all team activities. Today, Tavino turned himself into the sheriff's office for one count of voyeurism. He was secretly recording somebody having sexual intercourse with them with a I guess like a secret clock that was really a camera. So that is their starting DB. He's a 6'1", 200 and some pound DB, and now he's lost in the sauce. It says he's suspended from all team activities, so we'll see how far this goes. I know for a fact that he's probably going to be out of the USC game. We don't celebrate anybody's downfalls. We don't celebrate anybody's mistakes that they make. I hope that he gets his situation right. I pray for him because I mean that was a dumb situation. That was stupid. You're an athlete. You always gotta, I tell my kids, you gotta always protect yourself, and you always gotta do the right thing at the right times at all times. Because at the end of the day, my son's getting ready next week. He'll be checking in the dorms. I believe next week. And you're a college athlete now. You got to do the right thing. So I always look at it as if it's my son, man. And I hate to see a young brother in this type of situation. But that was a dumb thing. But Hopefully he gets out of that situation. But I'm saying that to say he will probably most likely be out of the USC game. Depending on what happens with this, it may be the whole season. If it's a court situation, it sounds like, I don't know how the girl found out. I don't know if he was showing it to people. I don't know the specifics of the case, of the situation, but he did have a secret clock and was getting his groove on and got busted. And man, that's his situation, man. So look, man, I got one more thing, one more news and note items I want to get to you. My question is this: from all your years being a USC fan, what is the worst moment, the very worst moment of being a USC fan? And I'm going to tell you mine. I want you guys to drop those comments so you guys can tell me yours. And I'm going to put this picture up every single time I see this picture or a replay of it. I can't even watch the game. I don't even go back and watch this game just because it makes me sick to my stomach. And it's this. You guys see it here. It makes me sick. That Texas 2005, I was living in Las Vegas at the time. And I remember when I was working with a guy from Texas. He was from Texas, and we agreed. We said, okay. He knew I was a big USC guy at the time. You know, I've always kind of talked about USC the way I talk about it now. I just have a YouTube channel. And so I was bragging about USC like I always do, like I do now. And this was 2005, living in Las Vegas. And he said, okay, come over to my house. I'm going to have a watch party. Would you come over there and watch it? I said, all right, man. And I really always been the type that don't like watching games with anybody, man. It's hard for me to focus. It's hard for me to lock in. And I've always been like that. But I went over there and, you know, I said, this Reggie Bush, this Matt Leinart, this is the team. You know, we're not going to have no issues. We're going to get it on. And I remember the very first play that game, you know, I think it was first series. I can't remember what series that was, where Reggie Bush pitched the ball back and everything seemed to be going. He didn't have to do it, but, you know, Reggie still redeemed himself. And he ran, you guys remember him running on that sideline, and he ran on the sideline so fast with that toss sweep and scored that touchdown. It was crazy. But this play right here is the worst moment of my USC football being a fan, because everybody knows his knee was down. Everybody could see. The picture is right here. Vince Young's knee was down, and I'm still, every time I think about it, every time I look at this picture, it just, let me take it off. I don't even want to see that. Every time I look at it, it just makes me sick to my stomach. And so that is the worst moment of my USC football being a fan. What is the worst moment of you guys? If you guys can hit me in the comments, you guys can tell me what you think. That is, I just had to put that up for a minute, but I really don't like putting it up, but I had to put it up. But you guys drop those comments. You guys can tell me what you think. What is the worst moment of you being a fan? That by far, I mean, nothing even comes close to that. Hit me in the comments. You guys let me know what you think. Also, what do you guys think about LSU DB being out indefinitely from all team functions? And then what do you think about Dennis Simmons? Is he the most underrated coach at USC right now? Is his body of work legit? Has he shown his work that he has right now? Hit me in the comments. You guys let me know what you think. Happy Monday to everybody, man. Listen, everybody stay blessed. Until later on, fight on, fight on, fight on.